accept. No, I'm just.
Yeah, wonderful. Please go ahead. There's nothing.
It's acceptance. It's appreciating who you are, and don't treat the situation with denial.
Okay.
So what you feel, you should say to yourself.
This is more like the next value, Arjava, straightforwardness. This accommodation is more like with reference to others, and see, others may or may not behave as you want them to. So what is your response? This is more.
We always expect respect.
That is the first. That is Amanitva. This is Adamritva is pretense. Then there is Ahimsa is we saw at the level of thought, at the level of words, and at the level of action. Then we did Shanti. What is Shanti? Accommodation. What does accommodation mean?
Accepting people as they are.
Okay.
And not expecting, you expect things from other people. You know that everybody is going to be doing their own. So you don't expect the sun to change because of not shine because you think that today is not a great day. Everybody is doing their own thing. You just need to.
Everybody is doing their own thing. Okay, now it's a good point that we don't complain when the sun shines, and so even though you are really hot, you find a way around it, right? You go indoors, you do something, but you don't sit and complain, oh, let the sun stop shining today. Now, it's wonderful. With reference to people, is it totally possible to just let people be totally good and you have absolutely no expectations? Is it possible?
An expectation, you talk about it, you try and change it, but then you deal with whatever is the end result.
Exactly. So that means,
You don't
Manage
knock your mind up because of that. You said I did.
okay. Exactly. See,
I did what I can, and then after that, be happy and live with the result.
Exactly. So that is very important.
There was a lovely day in the Times of India yesterday. A lovely article is reached. It's very much like this. It is very true about acceptance.
Yeah.
About the Gita, very nicely. They just explain exactly what the Gita teaches. Very nicely.
Before we come to other people, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it acceptance is accommodation for others, accommodation for your own self,
Yeah, see,
and
that's
the
the
expectations of others, because if you expect things from others, changes from others, they would also expect that from you, which you don't think. So you accommodate yourself as well as the others. You live your life with that acceptance and accommodation.
Okay. See, first thing you need to understand, why is it a value for you? Why do you need to accommodate people? Right? Why? So the first thing is, see, as long as you
So
want...
that your mind is not agitated.
Excellent. Wonderful. See, as long as you tell yourself that when this person behaves like that and that person does this and the world behaves as I want it, then I will be happy. So that means, what is your state of mind right now?
It's not happy.
Exactly. Is not happy
Anxious.
and it is irritated, right? So your value is not for, oh yeah, Namrata, I have to accommodate. Your value is for having your mind, which is clear, which is, please understand, these values are really very, very important. This is why this book is value of values. It is valuable for me because, right, suppose I don't accommodate you. Suppose I cannot stand the way you are and it bothers me. Then you may be who you are, but I'm stuck with my being bothered. And that is uncomfortable. So that means this value of accommodation is a value for you to be able to have certain tranquility when you live your life. Okay? Now, does that mean as Tushar was initially saying, you just leave people to be who they are, not at all. You're living in an interconnected world, and especially with people who you are close to, you're bound to have some expectations. But last time we saw that, and you want them to change, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong in wanting people to change, and in fact, you also need to want yourself to change. Otherwise, you'll never grow in life. Okay? So wanting change from others and wanting change from you itself is actually a healthy quality.
But you know
Right.
that it,
But what we understand is people are at different spectrum of change. What does it mean? Somebody is in a denial for change. Somebody is just defiant because you want that person to change. Some person is just defiant. The third person is trying to change but is very kind of a little bit captivated by one's own habitual way of behaving, so is not able to change. I want to change, but I'm not able to change because there is this whole habitual thinking which guides your behavior when situations arise. And the fourth thing is, but there are 5 things. Fourth thing is what I want to change, I'm making an effort and I am changing, but not at the pace that other person wants me to change. And the fifth one is what? That I wanted a change and I was successful in making that change. So that means at any given point in time, the people are going to be at that spectrum. So now, in our mind, we have only one thing. I want that person to change and that person hasn't changed. So are we aware of what stage that person is in? Please
I want to change
understand.
now.
Exactly. So we are stuck with our own mindset and we are not seeing the situation accurately. So we are what? Meeting a dead end. Yeah, and therefore we are frustrated. So that means the minute you begin to understand that this range, this spectrum is not only true for others, but it's also true for you, then you basically become an accommodating person. Accommodating person doesn't mean that you don't say what you want or you have no expectations. But when you say things, you try to assess for others and for yourself, where are you in that spectrum? Then your communication will be effective. And assessing a little bit where you are in that spectrum of change, you will somehow help the person move one step forward from where that person is, and not want that total change that you expect the person to have. Do you understand that? So your interventions will become what? More nuanced, more targeted, more, and then if
Thought about
exactly. And suppose that person you feel is trying but is not really, then what? You are supporting that person rather than dismissing that person. So that means the way you act, right, will also, otherwise you'll always, or you haven't still become this person that I want you to become. So your communication with that person is also going to be that of dismissal. You know, you're going to be dismissing of that. Here, you're encouraging the person. And at every stage, what is very important is, don't start taking this role of I know better than you. Just state the facts. Facts have their own strength. So when you, and what happens is, you make the person see some realities. And the person, if that person is sensitive, will respond to realities. But people will resist this thing of, I know it all, and you have to do what I tell you to do. People don't like it. Even simple people, they may just listen to you because they have no choice and their salary depends upon you. But inside, nobody likes it. So therefore, and the minute you keep making the person feel not happy and still get things out of that person, you can't get the most out of that person. It's not possible. So this accommodation is a very, very good quality, and accommodation in reference to yourself also means, even if you want to change, it cannot be overnight. Not only others, but even you. So that means you need time, you need certain effort, you need a certain...
Even if you're aware.
Absolutely. So the first thing is
Because
there
your
will
habits
denial.
and your, they will keep coming back. So you need to
Absolutely. So you need to keep
keep
coming.
reflecting.
Absolutely. So that's why in that process you have to be kind to yourself. You know, if you say, or if others say, oh, you go to Gita class and you are still getting angry. So yeah, it's not like it's not like overnight you can kind of, you know, become this wonderful person that even you want to be. It's not possible. So that means this change requires time and it requires an effort, and you have to make that journey pleasurable for you and non-judgmental for others and for yourself. So this is what accommodation is. Is it clear? Okay. Yeah.
I think the most important line over here,
Yeah.
Guruji has written,
Yes.
was that this is the most important value.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And for a saint,
Yeah.
this is the most important value. And the reason is because saints come from a particular place. Again, over here, our focus has to be more on ourselves than on others. So it is
No, even
gratitude,
on others. See, because
gratitude and love are the two absolute characteristics of saints. So if we are coming from that place rather than expecting the other person to change, then only will Shanti really come. Because otherwise it will become mental abstractions of how much do I weigh and not. And then the last point is that if, and I've been thinking about that in the last time, because it's not possible for us to be without expectations.
yeah.
So, and you gave us an example of where Swamiji didn't accept, and you gave us that one story of his, where he knew about the other person doing certain
Yes.
things, and yet, in that position, Swamiji has still built what appears, I don't know, all conquest in an extremely large and successful organization. So then the question is that in our interaction with people, are we really coming from a place of ego, or what we want to say or the change we want, is it really powerful? Is it really the truth? So before I go around expecting anyone else to change, I have to. So I'm trying to do that in office, and I find that, you know, when you talk less and you ask more questions, then I found this value really very, very powerful.
See, this value is very powerful and it is true. But suppose I tell you, love everyone, and this person has, suppose you are working, right? And that person has messed up a project, and that person, and that is going to cost you, suppose, right? This love, now suppose I tell myself, oh, I have to love that person, it is going to be artificial. This, please understand, the whole spirituality is about authenticity. You have to recognize, the starting point is, you have to recognize what you are really feeling and then work from there. If you are in denial, when you are feeling irritated and you somehow convince yourself, I'm feeling love for this person, it is going to be fake. I'm telling you, it will be fake. So that means these rules that, see, everybody teaches values like rules. Oh, have love for others, have this for others. That means that this is how you have to be, but it doesn't address what you are and help you to evolve from there.
That's why there's only one Valentine's Day.
So that means,
Yeah, but it's only on one day.
It's now called Galentine's Day, by the way.
what is Valentine's Day?
Girls.
Girls are girls. Oh my God. So this is the thing, you know, otherwise it's always very easy to, you know, see, when you talk about values, it's so easy for a teacher to say, be loving. What do I have to do? Nothing. And it sounds good. And forgive others. Sounds wonderful. What do I have to do? Nothing. All this effort, this is written this book of value of values. What it means is not to give you an advice, be this, be that, be this and be that. It is to recognize where you are, and within that, what are your distortions? Recognize them and how it doesn't serve you and how to go about correcting it. If you're in denial of what
Not
you're
denial.
feeling, where will you correct it? Tell me.
Not deny the emotion that you
Yeah.
feel, because you can't
You
feel love for
can't.
somebody who's really
You-
troubled you.
Exactly,
But
and
you
you are
can't deny
irritated,
that
so you
you're
can't
really
deny.
loving that person.
Absolutely. So this kind of a value will create a split in you, and you at one point will stop really realizing what you're really feeling. And your the response is you will try to be loving, but will be passive aggressive. I'm telling you that. Any value which is not assimilated and seen how it doesn't serve me, where there are distortions, removing those distortions, only then it will become an assimilated value. And when you have removed those distortions, then hopefully let love will flow. But don't start by saying I have to be loving. Do you understand that?
So somebody you are pissed off at, whatever,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you have tried your thing to try and resolve those
Yeah.
issues, and
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Yeah, so we saw
So
last time.
you can't find love in your heart for that person. So
So
what do
that's
where do you
fine.
put
So
that guy? You just
exactly.
where do you slot that person?
Okay, see, first of all, there is no real need for slotting a person forever. So we saw last time that labeling
It can
is a
change.
very, yeah,
It
exactly.
can change.
So what
The
you
situation
need to
can
be
change.
accurate that right now, the way that person is, that person doesn't serve me, and that's wonderful. It's nothing wrong. Last time we talked about exit strategy. Exit strategy is at one point in time you can say this doesn't serve me, right? Now at that point, what is important? Still you can accommodate. How do you accommodate? Don't label that person completely and say this person is like this, is like that.
Fair
You
enough.
just
You've thought about
Yeah,
it. He's also
you thought
coming from
about
a
it.
different space. You
Absolutely.
agreed to go your different
Wonderful.
ways.
And when you do that, what it is why it is not only that you don't have to be back to that person, but it has also to do with you, because if you say that okay, that person is what it is and it's not working out right now, there will be no carry forward of resentment. Suppose you tell that person, this person has cheated me, this person is so bad and he's been so unfair, what will happen? You will be stuck with your resentment. And that is something, that resentment is going to actually come in your way of having a tranquil, clear sleep night. Do you understand that? So that means for every value, it's not about only not doing to others, but it is by doing that, you're helping yourself. That's why it is a value for you. Then you naturally, in life you have to make decisions, right? You can't be, see, even if you don't exit what life makes you exit. I was thinking about my life, right? So many people that I was so close to in the childhood, most of them are no more. So that means they have exited my life, even though it's not that I chose to,
Right,
right?
the real
So
challenge is when it's a family member or someone so close where you have no option.
Absolutely.
We spoke about
So
that, right? That so long as you do your duties, you don't have to be over involved with that person. But when you have to do your duty, you still do it.
Exactly. So boundaries we saw when it is part of your duty, there are two things. One is what draw boundaries, because it's not like just because you have that duty doesn't mean that you let that person abuse you. And the second thing is at the same time, if the person needs help, there is no retaliation. There is no you did this to me, so now I'm going to get back to you. Not that. You have to learn to work and act from your values. What is important to you?
Somebody did something bad doesn't mean you have to try.
You have to actually go down to that level, right? So that means it will make you a genuine, authentic, accommodating human being. Otherwise, it's just like, some big words and sounding good, but it doesn't bring out any changes in us. And plus, it leads to denial of what we are really feeling and pretense.
An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, accommodation is a very big value for a spiritual person, but it has to come from understanding. And nobody is already like that. Then you have to recognize where you are and you have to do the corrections. That's how you grow, right? If you don't recognize where you are coming from and you're in denial of where you are coming from, where will you grow? Tell me. Never. Other things are sounding good. Here, you bring about a change. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. Next, Arjava. Tushar.
Arjava means straightness. When used as a value, the straightness or arjava is similar to the British English word rectitude from the Latin rectus straight, which means conduct in accordance with one's ethical standards. So arjava means an alignment of thought, word and deed. When there is raju bhava, arrow-like straightness between a physical action and the word, or between the word and the thought, that alignment is called arjava. What is non-alignment of thought, word and act? When I think one thing and say another, or when I say one thing and do another, or when I think one thing, say another and do even a third thing, all of these constitute a non-alignment on my part of thoughts, words and deeds. The avoidance of this disconnection, this division between word and action, word and thought, and action and thought is arjava. Arjava can be considered an extension of satya vachana, truthful speech. Arjava covers more ground. It includes not just vachana, speech, but also thought and action. For arjava, my action must be true to my words and my words true to my thoughts. Non-alignment results in a splintered person. What is the importance of alignment between thought, word and deed? By non-alignment, I become disintegrated. I am no longer a whole person. When there is conflict between my values, my thoughts, my words and my acts, I suffer a destructive split in myself. I become splintered. I am not together. If there is a gulf between me, the thinker, and me, the speaker or the doer, the result will be a restless mind, troubled by guilt and conflict. This kind of mind is not a quiet, receptive instrument, ready for learning anything, for achieving any end. For such a mind, self-knowledge is a far cry. To be prepared to listen to the teaching of Vedanta, you need to be together, not split. Therefore, arjava, the alignment of thought, word and deed, is included as one of the values of Jnana.
Okay. Very good. So what does it mean? Arjavam is
Don't compliment anybody when they are not wearing a nice dress.
Start from there.
Let's start from there. Exactly. So now I have to ask you, Tushar, why would you otherwise compliment? For what? Suppose
Yeah, time pass.
time
You have to
pass.
say nice.
Icebreaker.
You have to
You
say
go to a
nicely.
party,
You
what
see
else
your
you
name.
do? Yeah, so you say something. This is a party, I have nothing better to say. Oh, you look lovely. Like, really, no. But
Or you want to impress a woman.
Tushar. Or you want
It's always so nice.
Tushar.
You always
Yeah. Or tell us actually your role and you look
Or you
like
want to take
21.
over?
So that's true. So we do it all the time, right? So I mean, sometimes it's true. It's just time pass. But sometimes it's really a habit. So now, so what does he say? Alignment between thoughts,
Word and deed.
and then how many disalignment he showed?
yeah.
4.
Yeah, very good. What does it mean? Which 4?
Think one thing.
Think one thing, say
Another.
another. That is the first one.
Right.
Your thought is one, and you say your words are something else. Right? This is
Say
one.
something, you do something else.
Wonderful. You say something, this is the second one, but you actually do something else. Okay. What is the third one?
Think one thing, say one thing, do another.
Excellent. The third is you say one. This is third. You say, you think one thing, you say another thing, and then you do yet another thing. Okay, that's the third. And the fourth?
Word and deed.
Huh?
Word and deed. You're saying something, but you're doing something.
Excellent. So
You
you are
are
saying.
thinking something,
Huh?
or you're doing something. See,
You're
word
saying,
and
yeah,
deed you do.
yeah, that your words are something. So you're thinking one thing and
And you're doing something.
this is food, and then you're doing something Okay, now in our lives, can you give me some examples that we generally do in each of these 4 categories?
Thought and word I already said.
Thought and
Word.
word. Okay, you're looking, you have a nice dress and you don't particularly care for it. Okay, so that's the first one. Thought and
Word.
words. What is the words and deeds?
Say something, do something else.
Yeah.
No, but that says
Like you
something. Now,
say,
give me an
we should
example.
conserve water and we should be environmentally friendly and all of that. But then actually you go and waste water.
Super.
So
Excellent.
like,
See, these are, see, it means that you're thinking about,
otherwise
otherwise
you
will
also
make-
intend to do it. So your thoughts and words are aligned, but your deeds are not.
Super. Very, very common, right? So many times we say all the politically right things, but at the same time we don't really mean it. And we say we do
We
something
may
else.
even think
So-
in our mind that we mean it, but we
Yeah.
actually can't get
So,
down to do it.
this is, you know, what Arupa is saying, I found it in my own life. And this is interesting. When I was working with the UN, I did one whole big project on the environment, right? And on the policies of the government and how they can incorporate environmental concerns in their policy making and all. I made a huge paper, it was a big success. Now, at home, when I was brushing my teeth, I was what? Keeping the
water to run.
tap open and so much water was flowing. One day Surya tells me, he's saying, do you recognize how much water you're wasting while you're brushing your teeth? So this is exactly what Anupa is saying. You can be saying very big things, but when it comes to our behavior, we do something totally different. Sometimes we don't even think about it. Exactly. We don't even think about it.
Unintentional.
Huh?
Unintentional, learning
Yeah,
away.
but exactly. So here for Vedanta, so much of our life goes in non-alignment without even
Realizing it, conscious of it.
you have to be exactly. So this is why these are values, because if you don't do this, you're all over the place. All different compartments of your brain are not all coordinated and not aligned, and that will bring conflict, and it will bring certain amount of discomfort. This is the response from the universe which shows you where you are in terms of your values. Really. That's why values become valuable, because if you don't have all of this, the universe will respond in form of pain, difficulty, suffering. So you want to align yourself not for the universe but for yourself. And by doing so, you benefit the universe anyway. Right? So that is.
What
Yeah.
about when you follow these values and there's conflict? But on Valentine's Day in the morning, Pam tells me that by reducing the pressure of the water and doing all this, he says you're going to kill your children because they will not get enough water to wash their hands. So you have to come to which value?
So now where you recognize, what are you talking? Okay, Baman, you figure out what is your point here in this? Where is it? Are you talking about your non-alignment or Pam's non-alignment or what? First you have to figure it out.
Just make your Valentine trying to
No,
make
no, you don't. You don't make Valentine's Day.
You're going to kill your children because of estrogen, etc. So I'm wondering over here,
No,
I have to accommodate.
Yeah.
I come back to Shanti.
Yeah, so you come back to
So let's
Shanti.
just increase the water pressure.
We've moved on from Shanti.
So that time you had to say this. Now we are in Hajo, right? So okay.
This is a very exhausting space to be in actually when there's non-alignment,
Yes.
because it's like
You're all over the place.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And you lose track sometimes
Yeah.
of what you really believe, what you really think, and what you do, because so much of it is even unconscious. Like even for myself, I feel I'm pretty kind of totally not seeing this connection.
There's only self-reflection to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So this is why we learn these values so that we begin to think about it, right? Why do we actually explicitly learn about these values? Because we all do it, and we don't do it because of anything, but just because lack of awareness, sometimes lack of alertness. So here, the whole point is to make your mind more and more alert.
You see
That
how-
is the
Can you give me, yeah. go
okay.
ahead.
That's the misalignment between
Yes.
thoughts, words, and then your deeds are different.
Yeah.
But why would there be a lack? I mean, of course, you know why, but between thoughts and words,
Yeah.
Right.
So, thoughts
because
and,
oftentimes you can't
Yeah.
say everything you think.
okay, wonderful. So what, okay, wonderful. What,
But that is itself a non-alignment because you're hiding something that you actually.
I think it's how you say it. No, no.
You
Okay,
can't say
You want to say it because you want to be polite.
Kind of.
Okay.
Sometimes the seniority of
You don't
someone.
want to hurt somebody.
Teacher, you
Okay.
get something and say
One person after the other. Yeah.
And
Madam.
sometimes when there's fear of
Okay.
a person's reaction,
Yes.
or someone's older and you don't want to ruffle feathers and do anything. At that time, sometimes you may think something. What you may say is totally different. Your reaction to the person may be
Oh,
totally
you say
different.
nothing
And
about
what you actually do is again very far from that.
Absolutely. Okay. So sometimes it is based on
You
fear.
have to have
Sometimes-
as aware of this fact, and yet you have chosen to do it. Is that still Arjuna?
Okay, so what it means is, okay, that's a very good. So what it means, this value, good, Anupa, you asked this question, it's a very important question. What it means is, when you choose to talk, it has to be in keeping with what you think. But it's not necessary that everything that you think you have to speak.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay to keep
That is,
quiet.
it
leave
is okay to keep quiet. But if you choose to talk,
Then you don't
it
talk.
has-
Yeah.
So there's some
So
diplomacy.
that means, so that, yeah, so it just, yeah. So therefore, just simple example. Suppose you, now let's further go back to Tushar's example. Suppose you didn't like the dress of somebody. In one case, what you go actively and you praise the person and say, "What? Oh, this is wonderful." So that is not straightforward. But you also don't need to go and tell the person it is awful. Exactly. There is no rule that you have to say everything that you feel. But make sure that that is because of your own discretion and not out of fear.
Yeah.
So many times we actually don't say it not because it's our choice, but because we have created a scenario. If I say this, that person will do this, and therefore it will blow up. Therefore, I don't say anything. That at times is based on fear and not based on your real assessment. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
This is a very, very important thing. When it is your choice, it's wonderful, right? You can't always be saying everything. But if it is driven by fear, then it is coming from weakness. It has to come from strength and
But
not
often it's
from
also
weakness.
to keep the peace. So you don't say certain things because it's not big enough that it's affecting you so badly.
Okay.
So then you feel like, okay, just let's keep the peace and let it go.
So last
And to
time,
add to that, what if the other person is genuinely not receptive?
yeah,
Which often happens.
yeah.
Then it's like, why even bother kind of thing.
See that.
So they are in such a different space. There's no sense in going through that whole argument to try and bring them into your space.
Yeah.
Just leave them be,
But sometimes I feel if that is really bothering you, you have to find creative ways of pointing it out, but without this huge pressure, you see what I mean? Because what you have to tell yourself is, by pointing out, it's not like I'm being an irritant, but actually I'm giving that person an opportunity to think about something that that person is not thinking about. And it's okay, it may be initially that person is in denial, the person is not comfortable accepting it, but you have to do it if it really bothers you. So in that case, what we saw is the weightage to the problem. You know, so somebody came to me, and for them, whether simple things and big things, they all bother you, and of the same degree. So that you have to be able to distinguish and give different weightage to different events in your life.
Say that if we are conscious that we are being non-aligned,
Sorry?
when we are unconscious and aware that still I'm being non-aligned,
Yeah.
it is still Arjuna.
So it
Because
is.
that's a very, it's a very consciously taken. I know this is, this is not what I'm thinking, but I'm still doing it, or I'm still saying it, but I'm fully aware. Is it still Arjuna? Because I'm aware, I'm not
Can you give me an
harming, I'm not
example?
hurting.
So can you give me an example?
At I can. Yeah. So sometimes you know that a person's sort of really low and you really don't like what they're wearing, but just to make them happy, you say that you're really looking nice. But it's done in a very conscious way for another purpose.
Okay. So this is almost like, I mean, let's take it a little bit more. Suppose there is a doctor and who knows that you have terminal illness and he or she assesses that you're not ready to hear this and consciously tells that you'll be fine, suppose, right? Keeping quiet is one thing, but consciously makes another statement.
Exactly. Same.
You see what I mean? It's the same kind of a thing. So that means that is at times it is consciously done and it's a discretion. But if this is a habit, then that is something which is
unintentional, I guess, habitually, without thoughtlessly done, recklessly done, then it is.
Yeah, but if you create a pattern, so say for example, what I mean to say is, the doctor suppose that becomes his pattern. So he doesn't recognize what is the receptivity of that patient and behaves differently according to what that other person's receptivity is. Then that value is consciously
I think
followed.
the doctor is
Otherwise,
not wrong when he does that.
no, at times.
We can't say that you will be right. You can say that we'll have to do
No,
some
but
more
this is a
tests
very
or whatever.
interesting thing because I've seen it in myself.
Situational. Maybe when you come back with your family, you'd say to the family.
It can be a pattern or it can be very discretionary. When I was younger, I remember I used to always be nice to everyone just to please them.
Just to please. That
And
is.
now I can see myself being much more careful about not just randomly saying nice things. And
So if it is a pattern, then you can kind of think that it is more from fear or habit rather than using your discretion in that situation. So suppose you make a pattern in a suppose husband and wife relationship. You make it a pattern that, oh, if I say this and I have to, I have to please him, that will not remain this arjuna value. Please understand that. Because that is what you would say that I'm consciously doing it, but it's actually not totally aligned. Because in your life, there are going to be situations where you actually don't care, but there are going to be situations where you actually care. You see what I mean? So your ability to use that, and when you care, to stand up is something which is, or to say, it is very, very important. You can't make one general random rule. Do you understand that? So then you become far more the person who assesses and does what is appropriate for that situation.
also you're actually gifting a new perspective to the other person by speaking your truth. And very often that's what you can do for each other.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's move to the third. The thoughts are something and the deeds are something else. So what does it mean?
It happens in Delhi all the time.
What?
Basically, there's a constant kind of, people are saying one thing, thinking one thing, doing another thing. There's so much chalkapat going on. And really one sees it socially and politically because it's such a power-hungry city. So it's kind of disturbing even for the other person. And for them, I don't know how it works. It's something very crazy.
Never know what they're standing for. What they believe in, what
हो
they
जाएगा.
stand
It's
for.
really nothing about it. It's only going to say, आप तो मत करो, मिल जाएगा, पहुंच जाएगा. Nothing happens.
Yeah. So which one is it? What thoughts
I
and
think it's all three.
All three. All three. So can you give a concrete example? Like give one real life example.
What wouldn't be all three?
Sorry, all three you
All
can
three.
give. Yeah, you can give.
Example that I think that non-veg is not good.
Okay.
Okay. And I talk to people that it's kind of violence or whatever. But when I see a well-cooked non-veg food, I have that inclination to have that.
Okay, and you maybe have it in hiding or what?
No, in front of everybody.
Oh, in
Maybe
front
I
of
just have a
everybody.
very front of main piece or whatever.
Oh,
That's an interesting example.
yeah.
No, it's very true because, you keep thinking about it. I also, but when you're presented with a
Well cooked,
Because
already cooked.
It's already there, already gone. So, okay. So in that case, what you say that your thought is that you should not eat non-veg, and what is the word is also the
Also,
same.
when I got discussed.
You say that?
Yeah, I say that yeah, it's
You
violence.
said it is
I will
violence.
not do it over.
Okay.
So
But-
thoughts and words are aligned.
Yeah, thoughts and words are aligned, but the
Looking for a
deeds are
different
not
example.
aligned. So it is actually a third example. The third example, the thought is aligned, and you actually are thinking that you don't want to kill an animal, but when it comes on a plate, then you actually end up having it. So I think it fits the third category. You
What we are
understand?
looking for is
Now the fourth category, the example
describe the
for
Delhi,
all three.
describe
all
the Delhi
three.
guy. That will
Yeah.
do the third story.
Exactly.
So who knows what they're thinking? But they're speaking one thing, but clearly they're
Yeah, but
thoughts
just
are-
give one example of what could they be.
If I may
So-
just one.
Okay,
I've thought of becoming vegetarian for a
okay,
period of time.
okay,
So I'm just like negotiating with myself.
okay.
So I said, okay, what if I don't order food, like chicken and get killed and eat at home. But when I go to a marriage, I've not ordered the food. Non-veg food is available. So I'm really
That's superb. You be invited.
I'm really thinking about this. I mean, I'm not fooling myself. But I think it's
So when
really.
you go to a restaurant, you wouldn't
No,
order,
yeah,
right?
no,
That's what you want.
No, I won't.
That's like my
But if
parents,
you
my
go to
friends,
my
they would
house,
have bar in the house, but bar jaake they couldn't drink all the time.
That's all the gender.
That makes me feel halfway at least. I feel like
That's
I'm
a good question.
I almost feel that's
It's a
worse.
good thing.
That's,
This
yeah,
is my niece
absolutely.
granddaughter
Huh.
with my father-in-law. It's the whole story about the poor, her great grandfather. This is telling her, this is a chicken and you're eating that and why are you doing that, and the poor thing, so sad, so bad, so sad. No, it's not. But it's so yummy. Oh, poor kid. The
We have to have
grandfather is
a-
convinced that she'll never eat it.
We went out for lunch after this conversation and she said, now I won't eat, I'll eat veg food because Ada told me like this, so I'll eat only veg food. Okay, what are you and daddy going to do? We are going to eat our non-veg. Okay, we ordered corn curd or the vegetarian Chinese starters and we ate our prawns. And she said, oh, but it can't, it looks too good, the prawns. I said, then eat it. So she said, but then I won't tell Ada. So that if he doesn't ask you, you don't have to say. But if he asks you, you can't lie.
Okay.
Then he'll get really angry with you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But you then don't eat it. I mean, choose.
But
Which
that's
one
lovely
you do,
because
right?
it's a child's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah,
natural
and it's
Absolutely.
And there was this whole
Absolutely. So you don't have to go and tell
Tell,
him,
yeah, I see
but
what
if he
you-
asks,
then you
have to
can't
say,
lie
yeah,
about it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the best example of this
Yes.
was when my son Dylan was vegetarian, and Pam and I had big discussions. She's vegetarian and I'm not.
Mr.
We are trying to be.
Has to be there.
And I wanted,
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Sorry, go
I
on.
wanted the kids to be vegetarian and Pam wanted them to eat meat. So Dylan was vegetarian, and then at a party, he says, I'm vegetarian. And the lady then goes around saying chicken nugget. He says, I love the chicken nugget. I'm running to Dylan wants to eat chicken, Dylan wants to. So he wants to eat it, let him. And go ahead. And after that, Dylan would eat chicken, and the people would ask, are you vegetarian? He said, I'm vegetarian. Until we have to explain. Why you started eating chicken? So you are
Not
Now you're not vegetarian.
Ignorance is bliss.
So can you give one example where all three are different from the other?
I can.
Okay.
I've just sort of come from Delhi where I had a book launch.
Oh.
And,
Yeah, good.
no, I notice this a lot, and it's so the like say a book critic, who's a well-known book critic, you'll find that maybe they will think they like that they don't like the book, but for political reasons they'll come and tell you that they like it. But you hear from a third party that that they are discussing something where they're sort of, it's the same as what, it's like they're thinking one thing, there's maybe jealousy, there may be something else, they're not sure whether they like it, it's like three different things going on. the thought would be a negative thought, they'll say one thing and then they'll also do things to jeopardize each other. That happens a lot. So I think maybe that's an example.
Okay, so the thought was what? Let's examine. The thought was that I don't like it,
Yeah,
and the word was
I like it.
I like it, and the deed was
Maybe talking badly about the book
Sabotage
behind that
behind the
person's back.
Okay.
Writing about
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that's
So that's three.
Writing.
so the three different things. Right?
Yeah.
Or writing something positive about it and then talking badly about it.
Yeah,
That
see,
happens
this
all
is
the
the-
time. And the reason they might write something is because they have some other reason, an agenda to
That
be
they-
nice to that person
Mm.
or whatever. So there's so many little.
So many misalignments. Okay.
And
So
therefore, then your thought and deed is in alignment.
I was just going to say that.
No, because the agenda is completely different.
the agenda is different now, because you are saying that you like it, but the agenda for writing well is something totally
Exactly.
different. It's politically motivated and not because you really like it. And you say that you actually criticize it in
Yeah.
So that's a good example. So three things. Maybe it seems as though the thought and deed is aligned, but actually it's not aligned because it's done for different motivation than what is declared. Is it clear?
I only think that there is a lot of unconscious drives in me, and I understand, there's an understanding at a level,
Yes.
but my actions or even my thinking out of words, a lot of unconscious also is a part of it.
Yeah.
Although which I have not much of
Control at this point. Yes. See, this is why, Devesh, this is exactly, I explained to you the change, the spectrum of change, right? So which spectrum of change you are in? I mean, the way you described yourself, what? What is the spectrum of change
Wanting
that
to,
you
but
would?
not
He wants to change, and at the same time, what?
keeps going back because of
He's
habit.
going back to his habit. So in the spectrum of change, you have to recognize that you're not in denial, you're not in a defiant mode. Then what is all this? You're not in defiant mode. You genuinely want to change, but it keeps you, that the pace at which you want to change, you can't, because your habitual thinking actually keeps kicking in, right? Now, it's okay. This is not only for you, but it is for everyone in some
Basically,
areas.
the alertness to
So that
recognize
is
habitual
now,
patterns also.
suppose before you didn't know, now you, at least in the class you come and you understand that, hey, this is the problem, right? Now in that whole spectrum where I am. Before that, oh, I want to change and I don't change, and there's a
And then you
frustration.
start feeling
Exactly. So now the whole point of this class is, it's almost like a mirror to our minds. It makes you understand how we all are, and it gives us certain capacity, it gives us certain way to get ourselves out of those patterns. So that means if you're not even aware, then you'll never do anything about it, or you'll continue to be frustrated. Now you know this is the problem, and you also know it's not your problem, it is a problem of everyone. Then what you have to do is, when situations arise, right, and then the habitual thinking will happen. It's not like it's going to stop. But you have to be more alert and say, yeah, this is my habitual thinking. And what is it that I think? That little space, if you can create within you, where you can recognize and honor your habitual thinking, at the same time bring in the relevant things from the class that you have learned, and then reassess the situation. The more and more you are able to do that, more and more there will be changes. But that doesn't mean that the habitual thinking will never interfere. It will, it does. So that's not, please don't think that it's something very bad or anything. This is something,
You don't need to
this
beat
is how
yourself.
it is. This is what I said, accommodate yourself also. Accommodate yourself and say, but that doesn't give you license to fall back on habitual thinking. You have to use your alertness and discretion to keep coming back to what you have learned. This is why learning this knowledge one time is not enough. Why is it not enough? Because our patterns and the way we have lived our life is so strong and very deeply entrenched. So that means you have to keep listening to it, keep reflecting on it, and keep applying it in your life. This is why understanding things accurately are so important. Suppose I give you a wrong message itself and then you try to apply it in your life, I'm creating more confusion to you than I'm helping you. This is why in this class I'm at least on my side, I'm very particular that my messages are not all over the place. Suppose I give a message, oh, be detached from the world. Sounds wonderful. It will be a disaster. It will be a disaster. Why would it be a disaster? Suppose in some situation you have to make some decisions, and suppose in some situation you have to show your love to somebody, and you are in some big your own trip of detachment. You will not respond to that situation. This is why, it's a responsibility. Please understand. See, you are giving for 1 hour. You are somehow opening your minds to me for learning this teaching. In this 1 hour, what I say, because you're in a receptive mode, will influence you. And suppose my messages are all over the place. It will confuse you in your life. So this is why, please stay away from sounding good spirituality. It doesn't help anybody. It only sounds good. And there is no truth, there is no depth, there is no nothing. It's just like, it's like you go for a massage and you don't have to think. This is like massage. Just go, hear something nice, feels good, and come out.
Also here there's a coherence.
Absolutely.
It's like everything
Connects to everything else. So therefore, Devesh, see, that happens, is not only it happens for you, it happens for everyone. But if you keep telling yourself that, oh, now therefore I'll never change, that message has to change. Do you understand that? So that means what you have to tell yourself is, yeah, that is natural, but I try to be more and more alert. Try to. Right? And when you are alert, so that means you recognize that response that you instinctively feel that you should have, then that space that you create to actively bring in what is there. And then act. Exactly. So that means you yourself are then, and in that process be kind to yourself. Otherwise it will become your story. Oh, I've heard this, I know this, but I never can change. And you will keep repeating it to yourself. That is self-defeating. So that means you're then not paying attention, because then you'll say, oh, I've heard all this, be aligned and all. But I'm showing you, this is why I'm making you think about what, I don't just go move on. Okay, yeah, be aligned. It's easy for me to say, oh, be aligned, next value. When are the circumstances in our life and lives of others that we see this misalignment? You have to think about it and give an example. Then what happens when it comes to you, then you will be more alert. If you have not thought about it, you will not even recognize. This is what we call the whole analytical approach. Analytical approach is, it's really, we have to begin to see how our minds are, and we have to start slowly changing them and aligning them to these realities. That's very, very important, because in that is your peace, in that is your cheerfulness, in that is your enthusiasm, in that is your benefit. You're not doing it for Lord Krishna. You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for yourself. So, this is very, very important.
One thing I have to say that,
Yes.
there are many people who just say what they think. They just have to say it, and we often find that they're not discerning, they say anything, they don't understand the implications of when I say something to some other person, they just said it, and I say, I'm very good, I say it on their face. But what are the implications? How does it affect the person? So even in being aligned, you have to
Absolutely.
have
Not
that
indiscriminately. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So people use this expression, Neeta. People say, "Oh, I'm a mover," and they think that as though there's some big accomplishment.
Exactly.
No, it's not an accomplishment,
Not at all.
right? Not at all. You have to use your discretion. Every situation calls for this discretion, and how accurate is your discretion
The truth.
shows. Yeah.
And you may say things that you shouldn't have said.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
No, I confess I prefer Mufats to the ones that are all over.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
No, of
Don't
course.
say anything.
Yeah, that's okay.
Nothing is just
Just
quiet.
Yeah.
And it's special.
Absolutely. So that's
Words hurt so badly.
yeah.
You can't take them back.
Yeah, you can't take them so lightly and then be also proud of it that, oh, whatever comes to mind, I say it's not a value.
Actually, they say that the person who
It's verbal
is
diarrhea.
command is the one who reacts differently in all situations. So that, in which value is that covered?
This is it. See, all these values actually point to that.
No, but how do you, that's
Sorry, Baba, I missed what
So
you
that
said.
means,
Sorry.
see, in your own life, no situations are exactly identical. And suppose we two have similar pattern, but still there are so many differences. So this is why this objectivity is what your ability to assess things accurately and not operate from rules. Now, this whole book is making you that person. Making you that person who is aware of so many different aspects of our mind, so many different aspects of our attitude, which doesn't enable us to assess the situation accurately and respond to it. So that means if you study this book and if you try to apply it, you will be that person. This is why in no value I create general rules. You have to see nuances within nuances within nuances within nuances. Then only your mind becomes what? More and more refined.
Nothing is compartmental.
Nothing is just like blocks and things like that. So the whole, if you really follow this value, you will become that person. That's the purpose of this book. Your ability to assess every situation and your interpretation or whatever your assessment is as close to reality as it is. It is possible. It can't be 100% why, because the mind doesn't have all the information. That's why it can't be 100%. But as close to realities. Okay? So now, I want to tell one story, and this is really what happened. One person, she comes to my class, and she said, this value touched me the most. She says this was like a huge, really benefited me in my life. So I said, why? So then she told me a story. She said that she was living in a joint family, and then her husband bought another apartment. So then the whole family thing was, the couple moves to the new apartment or not? And she preferred to move, and she got along with her in-laws, but she preferred to move to the new apartment. But she kept saying, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. So that means there was a time of 1 year or so, they had an apartment, but she and the husband, of course, didn't want to kind of, feel that, okay, I have to be with my parents. Now, after studying this value, she changed her mind and she says, actually, my preference is I want to move. I don't want to be a spoiled person and say, I want to move and therefore you have to do this and all that. But what is wrong in saying what I really think? That is what you say fear-based or rule-based, or it's my duty. This is all not real value. So she said, she spoke to her husband and she says, really, actually I would prefer, but I understand if you don't want to. So that means it's not like it has to be my way, but you state what you have to say. And she said, when I said that very, very honestly and very straightforwardly, my husband's attitude changed completely. And he said, oh, but you never told me that you really wanted to move. And he actually moved. And now she has moved. And they have very good relationship that means so much duty imposed, fear imposed decisions, and there is no alignment. So that means when you make assessment, as I say, make assessment out of strength and not out of weakness and fear. These are all very subtle things. Please try to understand that. So that means just because you say that doesn't mean that you have to become a demanding person. Do you understand that? We confuse the two. We think that if we say it, then we have to have it this way. No, you can say this is how I want, but if you feel, then I'm okay with that also. Do you understand that? That is the person who's totally aligned.
And that is how
Or if at times it is not okay, you also have to say this is not okay. I mean, it's okay not to, right? Not to be okay. So it depends upon situation. There is no rule about it. So that is what we call this alignment is a very, and that will give you your inner strength, your ability to say what you think, but without accusation, without blame, without, just begin to say what you think and begin to what? Act according to that. Okay, so I just have a little light funny story. When we moved to Bombay, so we would meet some people and then they'll all say, oh come home, and then at the end of the event or party, so I said, but they didn't give us the phone number, they didn't give us, how do they expect us to go home? So I said, they don't mean that you come home, it's just a nice, polite way to show your little warmth and all that.
They're not really inviting you.
So they're not really inviting you, but that's a nice way to kind of, connect you.
Yeah, like we say, let's catch up,
Let's catch up.
but actually you're not saying that. Not that you don't want
That
to,
you want
but you
to,
just
but
have to make that
actually
effort to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
But he's more Western and more like, sort of like...
he's very,
Yeah.
Jatu is very Western, in his thing. So that is something which is a nice habit, and the more you speak from that inner strength, which is not irresponsible, just saying what you want, but well thought of, your image of yourself and the way people look at you. The two persons saying the same words, one will carry weight, the other one will be shooed away. That comes from your inner strength. The inner strength that you have, people will listen to you. So this is what, why shouldn't they listen to you? So there is this lady from California, she's doing a PhD in that spiritual leaders across the world, and especially female leaders. So she wanted to interview me, so she called me from California, and she says, do people listen to you? As a female, do people listen to you when you, in spirituality? Exactly. So I said, why not? I mean, it doesn't even, exactly, it doesn't even come to my mind that, oh my God, is Tushar is sitting here, will he listen to me? I mean, why wouldn't he listen to me if I make sense? Right? So that means, so much of it is our own fear. So that means first I tell myself, oh, these guys will never listen to me. Then suppose he asks me one question, oh see, the guys will never, they'll only be defined. So that means I'm only building my stories. And I think that the male are a problem, people are defined. So that means I get caught in my own reality. So that means this Arjavam is very, very, once you have such an inner strength, I believe my word counts, not because I'm saying it, because I have spent years thinking about it. Years. So therefore, this is the person that you have to become, right? This Arjavam, straightforwardness. So that is, okay. Now, the next, do we have time? It's 10:15. Okay. It's a small value, Acharya Upasana. You want to read it or we do it next time? What do you want? Next week? Next week, if we have time.
If everyone's okay for a few more minutes.
I don't think 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah. So we can read it, then you say what you think, then we'll have a discussion next time. Okay.
What's the next one?
Deepika will read.
Acharya Upasana. Acharya Upasana primarily means service to the teacher. This value is one that is deeply embedded in the Hindu culture. Its intensity and universality within the culture show the high regard for knowledge and for the teacher who imparts knowledge. Acharya Upasana also is used to indicate specific aspects of the student-teacher relationship. Gurukula Vas, living with the teacher for a length of time in a Gurukul and learning from him is also called Acharya Upasana. Meditation upon the teacher is another very literal meaning for Acharya Upasana. Acharya means teacher and Upasana is meditation. Together these words form the Sanskrit compound Acharya Upasana. Meditation upon the teacher means meditation upon the teaching by keeping the Acharya, the teacher, who stands for the vision of the teaching, always in one's heart. Service and surrender, however, is the general meaning of Acharya Upasana. This is the sense in which Lord Krishna uses the term when talking to Arjuna. In this sense, Acharya Upasana requires certain discrimination in its exercise. Care must be taken in choosing the teacher who will receive the service. Expression of Acharya Upasana can lead to exploitation of the value holder if the teacher is not a responsible person. Service to the teacher implies a pure frame of mind towards the teacher, a frame of mind characterized by a surrender of personal ego, subordination of personal likes and dislikes, a willingness to give without demand for return, and a general attitude of respect and devotion. Thus, Acharya Upasana means a great personal surrender. This kind of surrender to another person should be made only when the person to whom surrender is made has no need for the surrender, no need for the service, no need of any kind, and no need to be the beneficiary of the attitude of Acharya Upasana. Only a person who has a clear, steady knowledge of the truth of the self is without needs. Such a person is one who can be a real teacher. A teacher who can unfold the knowledge of the self that is the ground of all knowledge, and to whom the student can surrender completely with no fear of exploitation. So when Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that Acharya Upasana is one of the values constituting jnana, it is understood that the teacher at whose feet the student surrenders must be a teacher of such integrity and freedom from need for the service that only the student, not the teacher, will be the beneficiary of the surrender. In Acharya Upasana, willingness to serve is the significant aspect rather than the particular acts of service done. Willingness to serve means an inner readiness to serve whether or not we are called upon to serve. It means a happy acceptance of any in which we are asked to. Have happy acceptance of any way in which we are asked to serve, an attitude in which nothing asked of us is considered too small or large a service. In service, large is small and small is large. We are ready to do any action we can. In this teacher-student relationship, there is no give and take as there is in other relationships. There is only giving on the part of the student. Through such an attitude of unquestioning, complete service to the student, through such an attitude of unquestioning, complete service, the student becomes blessed. The teacher becomes an altar at which he or she can surrender. Earlier, Lord Krishna had told Arjuna, Tat vidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnana jnana nistatva darshina.
Is this 434?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Knowing that by prostrating yourself by inquiry and by service, the wise person who knows the truth will teach you that knowledge. It is this description of discipleship that is embraced by the term Acharya Upasana. When the teacher is one true to his name and the nature of service is understood, Acharya Upasana, surrender to the teacher, is a beautiful thing. Blessing the student and making his mind receptive to the knowledge to be unfolded. In gaining any discipline of knowledge, respect for the teacher is an essential element.
Okay. So what is his value? Do you agree with it?
We have to. The most beautiful line is that the teacher themselves don't need it.
Exactly.
That's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
And when
Absolutely.
There's no benefit.
There's no benefit for the teacher. It's not like, otherwise it becomes exploitation.
Yeah.
That is the dangerous place to be in, you know.
See, Drona is supposed to be the best teacher.
Huh?
Dronacharya.
Dronacharya.
But he was not fair to Eklavya. He was the best student. Eklavya was the best student, better student than Arjun.
Yeah.
But he was not fair to him.
Yeah, exactly. So that means,
the distortion.
yeah, distortions, exactly.
This
Do
was
you like the word surrender?
Beautiful.
Yes. You like it. You surrender to what? The person or the teaching?
The teaching.
Teaching.
That is very
Because
important.
the person who has the teaching and is clear in the knowledge has no need for your surrender. But you still want to surrender.
Yeah.
Because
So that means it's not to say any surrender. Please understand. Even when the person has no need, you have to be very clear that my surrender is not to the teacher. My surrender is to the knowledge.
It can be very dangerous.
And this doesn't happen at all because all these gurus want that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't surrender to the knowledge, you're not
Yeah.
going to absorb anything.
You're not doing it. Absolutely. So that means, and the teacher is important because the person has that knowledge that you are looking for, right? So this is also, see this, I mean all these people who are into Indian classical music, what is your relationship with the teacher? Her whole book, Music Room, is all about her relationship. It's a beautiful book. Wonderful book. How she as this young kid went to another world altogether. And how that kind of initially that, oh my God, where is this and all, how it started influencing her, how she started growing, how it started. Beautiful book, very nicely, very subtly explained. Very
It's a
good.
gorgeous read.
It's a wonderful book. Yeah, you have to read that book, it's beautiful.
So the
And
gurus
that
have the
is,
back-
so one person, where is, I mean, initially the commitment was neither actually for her, neither to that teacher nor to music. But somehow, over a period of time,
if you want to get
that love for music, love for the teacher, it all develops. Because as you start this relationship, and if the teacher is competent, and if the teacher is making you see certain things, that person is having such a huge impact in your life. Huge impact.
So that can even be negative sometimes.
So that's
It's a
why,
wrong
if it
person.
is not the right person, it can be negative. So this is why the surrender and all, there has to be what?
What about the people who go to several teachers?
Okay.
What is that all about?
Okay. Now you tell me, what is that? What is
They
that? all
lost.
about?
They're
So
lost.
that means
You can't
They're
possibly
so many
they're
people
still
who
seeking
do
the
that,
right
yeah.
person.
you can't possibly learn even in any. It's really
in
impossible.
music,
They're
in
confused,
dance,
they're still
in
seeking.
physics.
In
find
instant
out.
idea.
You have to, now suppose you decide to study physics, you have to apply to university, you have to decide where you want to go and study. You can't, see,
Yeah,
this
you
is
can't say,
why-
I'll go for 2 months,
this-
I'll go for 2 months, and finish
yeah,
it.
I'll tell you one story, and this is a true story. This year, when I went to, last year, 2018, when I went to Germany, so there was this other teacher, American teacher who comes and he teaches Vedanta. He's a nice guy, I've never met him, but he must be a nice guy. So now in those groups, people heard that there's this teacher who comes from India and she's really good. So many of them came from that person to my class. When I started teaching, so they had heard Vedanta, they knew what it was because they were going to some other teacher. Now, teaching, most of their questions, when I teach, then what they think about what somebody else said. Now, so all that, so that means they want to now reconcile. They want to reconcile what I say to what that person said.
Or what you know.
Right? No. So they want to understand, so they want to reconcile. So that means when I was teaching, instead of reflecting on what I'm saying, the person is thinking about what somebody else is saying and wanting to reconcile, tallying with in your own mind, whether to challenge or just to understand. At one point, I told the students, I said, you're sitting in my class, you can question me about what I'm saying. But if you keep on asking me what somebody else says who I don't even know, and you want to reconcile, it's your job, it's not my job. So that means, the mind is such that you have taken in those inputs, so it will remain with you. They can't just be brushed off. But after the class, you have to see what this person said and what that person says and what makes sense to you. If you don't do that, you will be going million to hundreds of teachers and each one says something, it sounds nice, and you are as confused as before.
It's like going to many stars.
Absolutely. So it's like,
So having one
unless you ask yourself, and no love, absolutely. So that means unless you spend time with the teaching and ask yourself, these are the things that I have heard, what makes sense to me and why. If you don't do that, you will be in this spiritual marketplace going from one person to the other endlessly, and you will hardly invest in your growth. Because you just want to hear nice things here, there, and you're not even assessing the two things which are saying different things, they sound same. That means there is no discretion. There is absolutely no thought on your part which goes into learning and assimilating this learning. Just superficial.
Why is the word pariprashna used and not prashna?
Yeah, pariprashna means thoughtful questions. This is why. So now, this time, then when these Germans, these other people, they came to this class, the quality of their questions was much better. Why? Because they were more listening to what I'm saying, they were engaging more, and then they were asking questions. So that is what we call pariprashna. You throw things at the teacher without reflecting anything. It's just a simple question. Not useful, but pariprashna is very useful. A question which has what? Come from a certain reflection on your part. So I told them, I said, you think about it when you go home. Then if you are stuck, you come and ask me. But you can't just throw somebody else's teaching on me and ask me to explain that. That's not fair. So that means, in this, you see, this is very subtle. It sounds, this, we have this what? FOMO, fear of missing out. So people do that, what Vedanta type, and hundreds of teachers. So no, today let me listen to him, next day let me listen to this, and let me listen to this, because you don't want to miss out on anything. But unless you do your reflection of what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and why it makes sense, and why it doesn't make sense, then you'll never grow. You're just with millions of ideas, conflicting ideas at times, and you don't know how to reconcile. So that means a discerning mind is very, very important. In anything that you do, you have to have a discerning mind. So this is, Acharya plays an important role in the whole development of yourself. Okay, but we'll see this value a little bit more next time.